Egypt and Turkey reject Israel's recognition of Somaliland. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan have jointly reaffirmed their strong support for Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity, firmly rejecting Israel's recent decision to recognize Somaliland. The two leaders made their position clear during a high-level meeting held in Cairo on Wednesday, where they discussed bilateral ties as well as key regional and international issues affecting Africa and the Middle East. The meeting took place ahead of the Egypt-Turkey High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council and focused on strengthening relations between Ankara and Cairo while addressing shared concerns in the Horn of Africa. Somalia featured prominently in the discussions, alongside the ongoing conflicts in Sudan and Gaza and broader regional security matters. President Erdogan stated that Turkey does not recognize any decisions related to Somaliland, stressing that Ankara's stance is based on the protection of Somalia's unity. He emphasized that Israel's move undermines the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Somali state and violates widely accepted international principles. According to remarks released after the meeting, Erdogan made it clear that Turkey considers Somalia's borders and political unity non-negotiable. Egypt echoed Turkey's position. Egyptian presidential spokesman Mohammed El-Shenawi said the talks included a private session between the two leaders, during which they exchanged views on regional security, political stability, and cooperation. Both presidents agreed that developments in Somalia and the wider Horn of Africa directly affect regional stability and therefore require close coordination and ongoing consultation. Turkey and Egypt were among the first countries to openly reject Israel's recognition of Somaliland, which was announced in late December. The decision sparked strong criticism across Africa and the Arab world, with many governments warning that it could destabilize the region and encourage separatist movements. Somalia's federal government has since intensified diplomatic efforts to rally international support and block any recognition attempts. Somaliland declared independence from Somalia in 1991 following the collapse of the central government. However, despite maintaining its own administration and relative stability, it has not been recognized by the international community. Somalia continues to view Somaliland as an integral part of its territory and insists that any political future for the region must be resolved through dialogue within the framework of Somalia's sovereignty. Beyond Somalia, al-Sisi and Erdogan also discussed the conflicts in Sudan and Gaza. Both leaders stressed the importance of de-escalation, respect for national sovereignty, and non-interference in the internal affairs of states. They agreed that lasting solutions to regional conflicts can only be achieved through political dialogue, regional cooperation, and adherence to international law. The talks also highlighted the improving relationship between Egypt and Turkey after years of strained ties. Once regional rivals, the two countries have recently taken significant steps toward reconciliation, driven by shared economic and security interests. Following the meeting, Egypt and Turkey signed several agreements and memorandums of understanding covering areas such as defense, trade, investment, health, and agriculture. These agreements signal a growing partnership between Ankara and Cairo and a shared desire to play a more coordinated role in regional affairs. Analysts see the joint stance on Somalia as part of a broader effort by both countries to promote stability in Africa and counter moves they believe could undermine existing states. For Somalia, the public backing from two influential regional powers is a significant diplomatic boost. As Mogadishu continues to push back against recognition efforts, support from allies like Egypt and Turkey reinforces its position on the international stage and strengthens calls for respect for Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The United States Africa Command, AFRICOM, has defended its increased airstrikes in Somalia, saying the operations are playing a critical role in supporting Somali forces fighting extremist groups, particularly ISIS-linked militants in the country's northeast. Speaking during a digital press briefing, AFRICOM Commander General Dagvin Anderson said the airstrikes are carefully coordinated with Somali partner forces and are meant to provide support in areas where local troops face limitations. These include advanced intelligence gathering, surveillance, and precision targeting, capabilities that Somali forces do not yet fully possess on their own. General Anderson pointed to recent military operations in the Golis Mountains and Puntland as a clear example of how U.S. support has made a difference. The mountainous terrain has long been used by ISIS elements as a hiding place and operational base. According to Anderson, Somali forces, backed by U.S. air support and intelligence, launched a sustained offensive that significantly reduced the group's ability to operate freely in the area. He said the airstrikes helped Somali troops remain engaged on the ground, maintain pressure on militants, and steadily shrink the territory under ISIS influence. Feedback from Somali partners, he added, shows that the continued operations have disrupted militant movements and forced ISIS leaders to go into hiding, making it harder for them to plan attacks or move openly. AFRICOM officials emphasize that airstrikes are only one part of a wider security partnership with Somalia. The broader effort includes training, intelligence sharing, logistical assistance, and long-term capacity building aimed at strengthening Somali security institutions. Sergeant Major Garik M. Banfield, AFRICOM's command senior enlisted leader, highlighted ongoing efforts to improve maritime security along Somalia's coastline. He said the U.S. is providing technical support to help Somali authorities better monitor their territorial waters and address threats such as arms smuggling, piracy, and illegal fishing. According to Banfield, improving maritime domain awareness is essential for protecting Somalia's borders and coastal communities. Smuggling routes along the coast, he noted, often fuel armed groups by allowing weapons and other illicit supplies to reach militant networks operating on land. AFRICOM leaders also linked Somalia's maritime security to wider regional stability, particularly in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. They warned that insecurity in Somali waters can have ripple effects across the region, empowering criminal and extremist networks that exploit weak enforcement and porous borders. General Anderson described Somalia as a key battleground in the wider fight against extremist organizations in Africa, including Al-Shabaab and ISIS affiliates. He stressed, however, that U.S. involvement is designed to support Somali-led efforts rather than replace them. Somali forces are the ones conducting ground operations, Anderson said, explaining that U.S. assistance focuses on enabling those operations through intelligence, training, logistics, and targeted air support when needed. AFRICOM officials argue that this partnership approach allows Somali forces to keep momentum against militants while steadily building the skills and systems required for long-term security. The goal, they say, is for Somalia to eventually handle these threats independently. Throughout the briefing, AFRICOM leadership repeatedly connected security gains to broader goals such as stability, governance, and economic development. Anderson noted that improved security creates space for communities to rebuild, access services, and pursue economic opportunities. Security leads to stability, and that stability creates opportunities, he said, adding that close cooperation with African partners remains at the core of AFRICOM's strategy.